Okay, so today is August 23rd, and we're going to start. Yeah, this is the tap dance at the beginning. Let's see what they want to talk about today. Well, consequentially, since we've been so engaged with so much material, that what downloads I did get, they wanted to change things up a bit, in that the June 14th and the July, 19th evening sessions that we did laid out a lot of material, and hopefully stretched your imagination and your sensitivities to new levels. Now, going back a little bit to those two, if I can remember, so much has happened between then and now. We were working with such subtle and fine energies that were being promulgated at this time, i.e. Mother Earth, talking about the expansion of the frequency and the frequency spectrum, the magnification of the energies. In addition, Saraswati communicated about the starting to shake the frequencies in order to begin to loosen all the unconscious attachments, psychologically and emotionally, that we have, so that we can begin to start to sense a different aspect of our being. And that different aspect of our being is, basically speaking, the observer. So in the last July 19th session, we had talked and shown about the Planck hole and the Planck fibers extending from the core of the heart out to generating these screens, and those torus screens emanated at larger and larger expanses. And those screens relay to us the dynamics in our world that we see from the result of the psychological and emotional entanglements that we have. So they play out on these screens, and we have the people in our lives that are the actors for us, and we hold the issues. And as we go through the issues, then it seems like a larger expanse. We become more sensitive and inviting of a larger perspective. So we start to get a dual and a trinity of perspective. So I think going back to the most recent channeling that, one of the most recent channelings that we experienced, which was with Sasha the other night here at Storm Wisdom, and she spoke about that dualistic consciousness, being aware of the doer and being aware of the observer. And she also mentioned the Golden Lake. And if we go back, I want to tie something, because that's a really good metaphor, the Golden Lake, because how fluid it is, and you can really get the sensation of the rippling effect that as consciousness moves, it ripples across the whole of the continuum, the water continuum. So in the Golden Lake, if you remember, back on July 19th, after we went through those graphics of the sea urchin, modeling the Planck hole with the Planck hairs that the information come out and expand to the torus fields. And in that progression, I'll bring up that graphic. In that progression, I talked about the torus fields, and then and the torus fields are like different screen levels of the observer. And then at the very center of the Planck hole is the character, the individual, and then sources all around it. And I talked about and showed this graphic that source is kind of like throwing a rock into a pond and the ripples go out, except when you throw a rock in this pond of source, the rippling effect goes in 3 dimensions, in all directions, I would say, spherically. And so this is a representation of that metaphor of source. And so I wanted to tie a line between what Sasha was talking about, the golden lake, source. And we all are a part of that source, and source has kind of 3 aspects of it. At least right now, as we're experiencing here in 3D, we get to experience the character, and we're pretty rehearsed with that, with all our habits and patterns. And as we work with our meditative capacities, and work through our issues, slowly we begin to get a sense of the observer of self. And that observer kind of has a more holistic view, yet at the same time, simultaneously, you get the impression of source. So we have the character at the very center of source, and it doesn't feel like we are embraced by source. It takes a lot of work to occasionally experience, I'm in source. I really feel centered, balanced, clear, expansive, radiant, still, nothing and everything. But then there's that also the view too of being able to observe that, the character and source. And so the July 19th session was about bringing the awareness and attention up to understanding that Trinity, that this particular time with Mother Earth, expanding the range of frequencies, magnifying those frequencies, and also Saraswati and others, shaking the frequencies so that we get to loosen what's unseen inside of us, in the closet, that still needs to be worked on, that may come forward, but through all the work that we've done, we've learned to not invest the whole of your awareness into the story and the belief, but to sit back into observing and allow the neutrality of the observer to bring up more of what the character, story, and belief arises. Now, when you do that, you break through these other levels and you get to have greater expanses. And you get to see more and more of the hologram of consciousness. And you're able to participate in more of the hologram of consciousness. But we'll still be responsible for unknowns that come up, and being able to maintain that I want to say detachment, but it's the neutrality of the observer, so that you can maintain perspectives. As an example, things can happen at any moment, at any time, right? So we were, as an example, just the other day, we were at the grocery store, just innocently at the grocery store, and all of a sudden, we were finishing up, and you know how you are after you get your groceries out of the cart. You go and park the cart wherever it's convenient, right? And you half attentively put it in a secure place, and then you walk away assuming it's all nice and secured, right? So I'm in the car, and I see Lisa comes, and we put the groceries into the car and stuff, and then she moves the cart away, and she thinks in a very safe place. And I'm in the driver's seat already, so I'm waiting for her to get back in. As she's walking back to the car, there's a little stanchion there, so she can't see it, but that cart starts moving and hits this other lady's car. And she's in her car. And she comes out, and she's not happy about this. So I'm going. It moved really slow. I have to admit, it moved really slowly, so it just went boom, Well, she gets out of the car, and she's very upset about this, and Lisa is unbeknownst, this is seemingly, she's being attacked out of nowhere, right? She innocently, she doesn't even know what she did, right? Because she didn't see any of it, right? So anyway, this woman is really upset, and they call me out as the neutral observer. And you could see all of the functions going on in the other woman's mind. She wants justice, she wants revenge, she wants all these things. She's really pissed, and I'm going. And the lady asks me, "Aren't those scratches from?" She asked me to look at her bumper and determine if those scratches on her bumper were from that. Cart.
She told you they were from that.
So I looked at them. And I'm going, no, these are, look at the color on these. These are from plants. So you must have gone through some kind of plants and scratched your bumper up. But I looked at Lisa and I go, did you apologize to her? And she said, yes, I did apologize. And she apologized again. And then I moved over to and still the woman wasn't having any of this. So I simply walked over to the other part of the bumper, and I go, look at the color of all these scratches here. They're the same as the ones on the front. So this must have happened at the same time with the same conditions, with the plants that you in. So, it's obviously, and then she finally acquiesced and goes, oh, okay, well, next time, pay more attention. So, as an example, for Lisa, she didn't do anything wrong. She didn't even know what was happening, and all of a sudden she's being attacked out of nowhere. So she felt the invitation to move into story. And so it was really a beautiful experience to assist in this, and I was the neutral observer, so I could just see everything that's going on. And communicating from that level, it helped, dissipate any kind of a charge and any type of assumption You know, because we're really good at assuming guilt. So during this period, it's a unique time, and has been, if you haven't noticed, for the revisiting of so many different issues that may come out of nowhere. As an example, I used Lisa as a kind of a guinea pig, so I have to use it myself. Now, for me, in the last video, I talked about how I had experienced an issue from the shaking. Something came out of my templates, and all of a sudden, I talked about how tight my hamstrings were and how it started affecting my left foot and such. And Michael, who's not here, gave some energetic treatment through his LifeWay machine, and that instantly stimulated the reemergence of an old issue. Well, I didn't say at this time that my chiropractor had been gone. He'd been gone for a couple of weeks. And so I was waiting to get a chiropractic adjustment. And so finally when he came back, lo and behold, he does a nice adjustment. And we get in the car and I'm going, oh my God, this whole bubble came up. And this bubble, I could feel, okay, I need to be in the observer, because the invitation was there to go into story, to go into. So obviously the alignment, the adjustment, allowed for an issue to come back up. And this issue is really important. And I didn't realize how important it was and how deep it was. So for me, I gotta share a little bit of that story. I gotta get a little bit personal. And it's getting hot in here. I must be getting close to the issue. For a lot of us, an issue that stems through the hologram of consciousness. And we know that as you tackle the hologram, you can tackle it in stages until you're ready to get to the core. And you know, a lot of this material is about tracking these all the way to the core. And so it can go back to different lifetimes, and it can even extend beyond that, all the way back to when we went unconscious. And when we went unconscious, as we know, I gave those graphs about the 7 roots of unconsciousness. They're very, very deep. We don't always get to pursue these lines and tackle our issues completely. It's not up to us. The intention is good when we're willing to stand and face our issue. But sometimes it's up to the navigator to release the big ones, the Kraken, the ones that really are deep and big, when you're ready, when you've sufficiently dealt with it from a number of different perspectives on the spiral. So for me, when my chiropractor began to do the adjustment and released the pressure that was in there, something very, very deep came up. And the quality and nature of this one is unwanted child in a hostile universe. Unwanted child in a hostile universe. And anyone who does their work, does their emotional work and psychological work to these deep degrees, you know that the levels of fear, the levels of guilt, the levels of shame, the levels of abandonment that you entertain and transform run into very deep stages. And so one of those is unwanted being or child in a hostile universe. This is a difficult one to deal with, and certainly as they're shaking our many stratas of structures, some of this can come out. Some of the awful things that we've experienced can lead to the impression. Every time you get vulnerable, boom, it comes. And that can lead to an interpretation that I'm not wanted. And every time I'm vulnerable, the reality's hostile. The universe is hostile. That's a fear at a very deep level. So it arises when you're ready to go to a very deep level of surrender. Okay? So, of course, the materials that we've been working with, especially in the last 2 sessions, to work to the point of totally surrendering, letting go. And our habit and pattern is this, managing this psychosomatic structure and all of its emotions and levels of consciousness. But we're not this. This is ours. And where we're moving to is opening the sensitivity within ourselves to reinvest into the level of trust and surrender necessary to drop these layers. These layers exist around the character. And so one of them, I can't say which one it is, one of them is at the point of vulnerability and sensitivity. Imagine standing right on the precipice in between the vulnerable point of dissolving or holding on to structure. And at that point, you got to have a lot of trust to let go. So at the trust level of surrender, the possibility of feeling the unconscious memory of an unwanted child in a hostile universe. So how do you bridge? Well, as we've learned, you can't bridge by running and denying. You bridge by accepting, and as you accept it, it starts to open. A new reality opens. You pierce this boundary by accepting the emotions that come along with unwanted child in a hostile universe, or whatever one you're working on. So, for me, I have a lot of conditioning for hostile universe and unwanted child. You know, going back to that, what is the Waterloo experience, if you remember that session. Waterloo, 5 years old, and being ostracized and brutally beaten and, scared. And that served, of course, because something so big like that, so painful like that, in unconsciousness, you'll keep pursuing validation externally from all authority figures, not yourself. And so it's pain that gets us to eventually see that what we're looking for is already within us, and to acknowledge and accept it. And that begins the bridge work. So the Waterloo moment helped me understand the dynamics, emotional and psychological, to begin to stand and accept, invite and accept the unwanted child in a hostile universe. So anyway, as a child, my conditioning, I could go over so many of them. That's not the point. But I've had so many experiences that are that deep, and the one that came up for me was when I had my son. My son was the greatest joy in my life, and I was all set on being the greatest father. Better. I was taking him to power spots. I was taking. I was training him to to allow him to be whatever he wanted to be, but I wanted to give him access to all these things that were just jewels of the world, and so at one point, my relationship went downhill. And I tried to communicate, prior to Lisa, the mother of my son, my relationship went downhill, and it had, I tried to communicate, I tried to, go to counseling, all of it, no. So I was like kind of forced, into this divorce. And after, I don't know, it was about a year, finally, on one of the occasions, we were sharing custody, and on one of the nights, I was bringing my son back, and she said she seemed to be really talkative and open. She said, "Yeah, I just broke up with my boyfriend," and I go, and she seemed like she wanted to talk, so I just started talking. I go, "So what was that all about?" And she said, "Well, one of the waitresses convinced me you didn't love your son." And so that came out. Now, I've had a lot of different experiences that came in this structure's life pattern that came out of the blue like that. Bad things happen to good people. And so the issue is about self-acceptance. And so for me, when the chiropractor put that L4 back into place, all of a sudden the bubble came up, and I'm going, oh, wow, this really... So for me, when that happened, you see, I moved away, and I had to start over because I lost everything. So I started over in Hawaii, and I was a supervisor at a health food store called Down to Earth, and one day we were unpacking one of the shipments, and I had turned, and it hurt my back, so the next morning I couldn't get up. So you see, it must have been me, unwanted child, the guilt, the shame, the blame. I took it all, and I put it in L4. So, for me, the shaking can bring up these deep wounds at any moment, and all the training that we had shows you that you no longer have to pursue validation externally. You got all the issues in you. And they come with trophies. And so after that had happened, it was like I went to after I successfully integrated that experience, oh my God, I could see more of the hologram. It was like, okay, your issue's over. Boom, you get popped up to a next level out, and you start nurturing yourself, stewarding yourself with a little more self-autonomy, self-realization, and self-authority. So this also got me to see that where I've been where they have been slowly taking us is we've contextualized ourselves from the perspective and vantage point of this thing, the identity, the personality, and its history. And we pursue kind of linearly our connection back to spirituality and all things. So it's almost like a linear expansion in stages. And they showed me, yeah, that's part of the path, but that's not really what's happening. And they said, really what's happening is as you relax, the connectivity of you, because you already, remember in our last session, I stretched the conversation to extend way out through the geometries, all the way, Oh yes, here it is. All the way out to here.
Wow.
So, taking this, moving it upward, or we could do it this way, yeah. The expansiveness keeps encompassing greater awareness of the entirety of the reality. And it does it by, you already are, you're the screen. We are the screen, of which it appears these holographic material-like things walking around. We give our attention to those things and we conceptualize and validate our reality based on that, but that's not it. As you relax and stretch back, you become more of the screen of consciousness. And so in the last two sessions, the music and the guidance that's been channeled through has been about relaxing where you're at and allowing the vibration, sound, and sensation of feeling to extend so that the windows start opening. So tonight, it's a little different, our experience. I'm not going to be talking so long. In fact, I'm almost done. What they would like instead is that we take the time to move into these states using the music and allow the relaxation to assist in your sensitivity towards the windows that are the you that encompasses everywhere. That's what they're trying to do, is get us slowly to see, validate, accept the constructs in this reality that extend all the way through the whole of creation, and the understanding that you are beyond creation, you are the acclamation of creation as integrated consciousness. It's all consciousness. And so that's where we're going to go tonight. After I answer any questions and we have a break, tonight's exercise is going to be on moving into opening, not this, but this. This screen. Allow this screen to begin, at least to seed the feelings and the connectivity, the awareness that the screen is our consciousness. And there's no end to that screen. Questions? It's interesting because as I've been getting this stuff, suddenly I got this offer from Japan to work on the collective consciousness and the grid works that entertains all through Japan. And I went in and asked, and they gave me this whole overlay about it. And the one thing that's coming up for Japan, because Japan, as they showed me, the symbol is the golden dragon, which the whole of the islands outlines this entire golden dragon. And I've experienced that dragon on quite a number of occasions. And it's a powerful dragon. And I've had some, Yuchan sat with me one day and we experienced that golden dragon. And Sayaka also up on Mount Fuji when I was walking up. Yeah. So anyway, that golden dragon is reflective of the collective consciousness, and one of the things that they've been showing is that the fear of the unknown and the desire to control the circumstances leading to the unknown has been the theme that runs through Japan, but it's not just Japan, it's the hologram. And the hologram extends back, and they were showing me the root races, and that it's in every race. And this is where technology is born, and alienness, and hive-mindedness, and, and so... What's that?
That's the card I picked today.
Oh, really?
Alienness.
Alienness.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And holographic healing.
Oh,
wow. Amazing, amazing. So that's been the theme.
In a hostile universe.
Yes. So that theme they showed me, because as they were communicating about this, they said it's laced and magnified in each chakra. So as the approach is the same that I've just described. You don't run, you embrace, and you start to steward, nurture, validate. And as you do, that causes you to integrate and accept. And so, as we're doing the exercise, at least, for me, like I was expressing with the, the advent of my chiropractor suddenly launching this whole emotional upheaval on me, I was able to integrate it quite well because of the practice of not running, but accepting it and validating it, and led to transforming it. So, this is important, what I'm sharing, because they're shaking this, and it doesn't look like they're going to stop shaking, but they're going to increase the vibration so that we liberate ourselves. And if you're doing the work, you're doing fine. You're doing just fine. And this is the roadmap, as they've showed me, for the integration, is do just that. So
I would say that the training that we've been working with for 2 years through you, of really seeing everything as your own creation, absolutely allowed for the breakthrough that I had in the channeling class.
oh my God, that was such a huge thing for you to be able to even approach that. And you transformed it right in front of everybody.
And to see it as my own creation, as the flash that came into my vision. I mean, it was just like, you are responsible for this, but it kind of showed me in a flash how I
Yes,
was.
yes.
It didn't have to be some long, drawn-out visual terror thing.
And a drama.
It's just like, boom, here
Yes.
it is, you know?
It's instant.
But I just absolutely know that if I hadn't been working with just accepting complete responsibility for everything in my world and in my creation, that I would not have made that breakthrough.
Wow.
So thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Jane. You're very welcome. It was profound to watch you. What was you saying?
It's just interesting because we as humans automatically assume that when we're experiencing something like your pain with L4 or your throat chakra block, that we automatically assume if we're in pain that something's wrong or something's blocked. And that sometimes this really taught me a lot when I received that message for you the other day, because I think that way too, that sometimes the discomfort itself is the clearing, and we don't often, that's like the last option that we look at the check marks, right? So I don't know why something you said kind of triggered that idea. Maybe if you're inspired to talk about that idea of reframing our experiences away from the idea that it's not necessarily a blockage, sometimes it's a birth.
Yes. Well, in the example that I gave of the, my hamstrings becoming tight in that June 14th session, and what I experienced from it then, and then when the chiropractor, it released even more, I was ready for that, and more of it released as I did 100%, going 100% into taking on the task with the Japan work. I got to see more of the hologram of the fear of the unknown and control of the unknown. And that is also tied so much around the hostile universe and unwanted child. And so more of it cleared even in there, because you were ready, so the pain and everything is to get you to stop, like we got a download for you. We're waiting for you to process. We'll help you if you just pay attention. Go to the quantum. We'll
When
download
you
you.
don't pay attention, then you get more and more pain.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
But that pain is associated with the ego part of you. That's what I feel. That's the ego part of you that's looking at it as pain, because the ego likes pain.
Well, the stories and the emotions are what the ego wants to latch onto to validate its non-existence. It's afraid that it's really nothing. So it needs a story. It needs validation. And pain and suffering is its validation. Because you'll do, notice how you listen to the ego and the tyrant. I gotta cut this person out of my life. I gotta do this. I gotta do 1,000 jumping jacks. And then I'll clear this thing. When it's always when you give 100% of quality time to yourself, that the navigator can show you, here, this is all I'm trying to say. And we go wild. I don't want to hear it. I'm in trouble again. I know you're after me. Because we cycle. The way we were brought up and how much negative feedback we received, we still have our parents' voices in those same modus operandi. When somebody else says something with nearly the same tone, you do the rest. You do the rest. So it's us observing that and disassembling that whole entrenchment that liberates us. And that's what gets us to be able to see more clearly our connection in all things. Because you're not willing to run anymore, boy, Spirit wants to open more doors for you. But it feels to the ego like you're going through, like we talked about on many of these nights, the crucible and the fugue. Everything seems so dark, disconnected, and you feel smaller than a yet. Contracted, disassociated, split, and you can't bring anything close to your heart. And it's at those times that you have the best opportunity to recomposing yourself, to seeing clearly and standing in that. That's training. And that's the hardest training, is to stand in the middle of the fugue, in the center of the crucible, and pull yourself together. Pull your dissociated components back with absolute compassion and love, and no more judgment. That's what really helps.
That vision that we had on Tuesday when we were working with Japan was of a person split in half by a wall.
Yes.
When
Yes.
you were half on either side, but the wall went through the body.
Yes.
It was just such a strong image of that dissociation. And
Yes, and that's in the third chakra, you have self-will versus group will. So this is the beginning of hive mind, when you abdicate your self-autonomy and your pursuit of self-education and evolution over to abdicating for the whole. Sure, you can learn a lot of things about giving to others first, serving the greater good, but at some point, we're all the one. So you got to take self-empowerment. There's bad habits that come up with giving everything to the group mentality over yours because it has you abdicating your self-empowerment, self-validation. There's many, many things in that. And I got to see all that. That's why I'm having trouble writing up the third report, because it's like, oh my God, this is so huge. Seeing too much. But that's it. And what I got was the tower card, because as we accepted, as we kind of stood in for it, and it was really unique, holding the process of integration, which is not running, but accepting, forming the bridges. Then all of a sudden the tower, all these towers come crashing down. I didn't put, you haven't read that report. But yeah. All right, any more questions? No? Okay, we're going to take a break. You could take a longer break if you want. Actually, I got through an hour? Yeah, an hour of talking. Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know what.
Did you plan the meditation tonight? Or?
I have an idea of how. Yeah. Yeah. I got the music already. I got to that point.
Well, maybe then we'll have actually time to talk after the meditation.
Yeah. Surprising. Yeah, things are changing.
We used to have time afterwards to talk.
Yeah, they have been in a rush, so to speak, to cover the groundwork so that it's comprehensible, to assimilate the you at the greatest expanse that's possible.
Well, if you say that the shaking is going to accentuate, maybe this was a gift that we kind of got into a little bit of an advanced shake opportunity.
Yes.
To clear ourselves enough to be stable when it gets more shaky.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
What is humanity going to do that don't know anything like this?
Everything's perfect.
I know,
Everything is perfect,
we're
but
already
it doesn't.
seeing it 'cause
Yes.
people are polarizing
Yeah.
so strongly and clinging to things when
External.
illusions that are like
Yes.
so ridiculous.
Yeah, and stories. How much gravitas surrounds stories right now in the news, especially when it's colloquialized, you know.
We could have a nice political discussion if we felt like it.
And there is no story. The more you get out of the story, then the more you ground with nature, you ground with reality. And as you ground in that peace, all of a sudden, the greater part starts opening its eye. You start opening, those eyes over there. The great torus field starts opening up more. And you get these experiences, being the observer, and your connectivity to source increases. You, source, and observer. So Sasha talked about that duality of consciousness, and the week before, I was trying to communicate about the Trinity of consciousness, the infinitesimally small hologram that is our identity and personality configured in this hologram sits smack in the middle. If that earth would be the symbol, we would be in the center of it. This is source, and these are the plank sends out in all directions, filling the screen for every one of these. So I also got to experience today in the healing session, which was profound, because, they did it, not me, but I got to observe how that line, fear of the unknown and the desire to control the advent of the unknown and unpredictable, that line running through the chakras, as it reached to the heart, then it could be integrated into the source. And as it was integrating into source, I was literally got to feel all of those spiraling Planck hairs generating these screens. It was phenomenal. I can't describe it. It was just beautiful. And it's, here is just quantum love. And it felt like it healed, that whole fracture. And I got to see, they said, you cannot heal a portion of a chakra. You have to heal the whole hologram of the chakra.
Wow.
And that means that you have to include the whole hologram. So they were speaking on many levels, because there's not, the hologram and the fractal doesn't end with the chakra. It's the whole thing. So they gave me that experience, and they were saying, you already are the whole, and as you do your work, you step to another level of responsibility and liability. If you are already the whole, with the fracture that runs in it, and that's what this experiment has been, trust. This is the main thread running through all civilizations, trust in the unknown. And technology is born from the abhorrence, the resistance to not trusting in the unknown. So they were showing me the whole hologram through all the different races, through the tree. The whole tree, branching into all, terrestrial and extraterrestrial civilizations. They said, you can't heal the chakra. You can't heal the chakra, or a portion of the chakra, until you take responsibility for the whole. And I went, holy moly, that's right. And suddenly, you're like, so your responsibility changes as you start the clearing, and you start seeing clearly, all the way out. They give you responsibility to assist consciousness in helping this progression and healing and integration, because it's so difficult. It's so difficult. Anyway, let's take a break. Alrighty, let's begin the process. Slowly bringing our full awareness and attention to the here and now. Relaxing the body, making final movements to find the most optimal position. And begin slowing the breathing down to the relaxed rhythm most suitable for you. And as you settle into the breathing, bringing the awareness and attention to the energetics filling the air and the vibration of the energies all around you. and allowing yourself to slowly drift deeper into the sensation of vulnerability, peace, stillness. As you begin to center, allow your attention and awareness, your sensitive feeling body to ride the music. And engage the connection of your emotional body integrating, calming the mental body. Let each breath release any tension in the body. Inviting consciousness to integrate with the heart, calming the love body, inviting that fluid, loving sensation. From the core of the heart, pathways open, the filaments allowing the sweetness of source. Let the music vibrate. These filaments, like the sea urchin, extending in all directions. From the core of your being, core of your heart. Slowly opening to source all around you. Your awareness and attention to the sensations of this golden loving essence. Amplify the connection, opening these tiny vesicles. Energetic pathways of source surrounding you. As they interchange within the body, they dissolve the sensations and boundaries. Supporting the accentuation of consciousness, loving consciousness. Each breath now magnifying the opening and expansion of your connection with Source. Allow the sensations to open and invite yourself deeper into the surrender and acceptance of the source energy. Allow the source energy to expand spherically beyond the body, beyond the room. Trust, surrender, accept. The loving source energy, the one self, bathing windows of sensitivity in all directions. Country expanding to the boundaries, your being embracing the country, the hemisphere, the earth. Pausing here, and enjoy the loving embrace of you and the entirety of the earth as one synonymous being. You are here in your being, in this room, at the same time. You are embracing the entire planet. Expanding away from the planet now. Observing the loving connection and purity emanating from all parts of the core of the earth through every aspect, from core, mantle, surface, to all the beings. Embracing the entire atmosphere. Step further, opening the windows of the observer. You are not going anywhere. You're instead paying attention to the expansion of the connection of your heart in all directions, enabling you to embrace the planet and the solar system. Open the heart. Let the fibers and filaments, the plank filaments, etching the picture on the expanse of the embrace of the heart to include accept. The entire solar system as your being, observed, as if embracing from the heart, from whatever vantage point that torus of the heart extends to. The torus gives you the ability to move perception to any vantage point. Still, you're aware of the character in the room, in the expanse of the heart, source. And in this case, observer, the loving connection enables the full spherical embrace. Nothing to do but receive the great loving energy from Source, fueling the extension of your heart and observation into character, observer, Source. Source fuels the expansion from the center of the character out to the screen, no matter the distance, so long as you maintain the connection. Source fuels the singularity and the core of the character. This circuit heals, integrates, the character into the observer and Source. Conscious invitation of this connection feeds and fuels the Trinity, the simultaneity, observing the Trinity. Trinity enables the character to heal in reintegration. This is the reintegration. Enjoy and remember, keep fueling the character from source and abide in the observer. Enjoy your experience. Let your hearts heal. Invite yourself to explore the expanse, to include the universe, the clusters and superclusters. Indeed, experience the self everywhere as you maintain this Trinity. keeping the awareness of the character in its domain, yet fully open to receiving source from all around it, fueling radiant energies, enabling connection to the observer. The observer returning the energy of the torus back into source so fluidly, so easily. Yet it is the conscious connection of the Trinity working in unison with each other, of these pathways flowing in and out of the heart and the reality. This is the coming practice in daily life, becoming aware of the Trinity for your needs, in quieting the external storms and the endless stories, constantly searching to invite you to participate. This peace, this fulfillment, this connection, you to your own source as a Trinity, completes the triangle of your foundation. It has been an honor to share in this reconnection. Take this foundation into your own self, into the world. Your world. Assist the peace and connection. Begin to bring your awareness for your 3D needs as best as you can, maintaining the Trinity as you return. When you're ready, you can return fully.
So much for time for conversation.
Well, they let us stay for a bit afterwards. That time went fast, didn't it?
Who was that?
Mr. K. Mr. K.
I thought it was him or she, but I wasn't sure.
No, Mr. K. So, could anybody experience all three aspects?
For me, it was heart, mind, and space.
Okay.
There was three, but that's how I
Oh, okay.
perceived it, or experienced it.
Did you see anything?
I kind of kept getting the image of like an upturned crescent moon and a sphere and space.
The upturned crescent moon kind of reminds me of the Taurus.
No,
Yeah,
this-
yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking on. No, what he saw is reminding me of what I experienced too. Like, it could be the same thing from different angles. But
Yeah.
no, I can't describe it. It was like, you know, Vesica Pisces, right? So you have two, and then the overlap,
Yeah.
right? So I was aware of those three spaces.
Okay. Yeah.
And the weird thing was the Vesica Pisces space. I don't even know how to describe this, I'm sorry. I was aware of, I was laying down and I was aware of my body as if someone had come in who's never felt a body before. I could feel the blood moving
Wow.
and like tingling.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it almost felt like a machine.
Wow.
Which our bodies are kind of a machine, right? And that was the Vesica Pisces space.
Wow.
Wow.
So I guess that's
Source.
consciousness overlapping physical.
Yeah. Yeah. That's source.
That's the best I can describe it. It was bizarre. But it was only short because I was so focused on making sure the camera.
Anybody feel the connection with source? Yes. What was that like? I can't talk.
I guess you could say it's like just total immersion.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You're totally just. And then from that you can feel just no anxiety at all, and your radiance just goes out and touches all things. And then it's easy to move your consciousness to the, being observer 360. It's,
Well, before I started, man, my body was just going nuts. I just when I get tired, I move. I just move, and I was like, man, I just want Yeah, it was total.
Beautiful. Solitaire? Anything?
No, I was just thinking because I'm exhausted, so I was moving and
You too?
sitting
Yeah.
still and trying to do it, and then totally. I was thinking, oh, that's right, we're doing the Trinity. But I was kept going through these tubular things, and I thought, oh, that's right, the tubular things to other planets. And they were at one point it was big, and there was spacecraft flying through, and I go, oh wow. But I did feel at one time it was vibrating all over, so I don't know what that was, but I don't know. I don't know where I went. I don't think it was anything that had to do with the lecture. But they were going through these two big, large tubular things.
That's like a wormhole.
And then,
Yeah.
and then at one point I thought maybe it's a Y or something. Then I'm under the ground, in the water, looking up, and I thought, oh, I better look around and see if there's anybody else around. There were fish flying. There were these big, and I was conscious of it, and I thought, oh, I was conscious, almost like I had died underwater, and I was looking around for who else might have been there, and then maybe it's just because of all the stuff going on in Hawaii. I'm thinking of, the accents. Maybe I'm there now helping them. I don't know. It was a very bizarre thing. So.
Was that a green tea frappuccino you had?
No, it should have been a green. I was sitting here going, I should have had caffeine. Oh my gosh, because that would calm me down. Anyway, sorry. I'm silly.
No, wow. So sounded like a great experience.
Would have calmed you down?
I think so, because I'm so anxious. That would have probably calmed me down. But
Oh.
they used to give that to hyperactive
I know.
kids.
I was just thinking. That's what they said. A little bit of coffee.
Yep.
ADHD.
Rain?
Well, at first it was like somebody was touching me. I could feel something touching my head. And then the energy was so intense.
That's for sure.
I saw this, like the center there, the bar.
Oh, okay.
But the earth wasn't there. It was hollow with the bar going through.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it was.
Like her tube.
Well, yeah, that's
Maybe that's the tube.
It
I
was
going
the
through.
tube, and it was round, but there wasn't anything on the sides. It was empty. It was dark.
Hmm.
It reminded me actually of metal.
Oh. Was it liquid metal?
No,
Oh, metal. What, the sphere was metal? Or it was shiny? Metallic?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
like
well.
metal.
Okay.
Flat, shiny plane.
I know. Yeah.
So that's my experience.
Oh, hope you get more follow-ups on
There
that.
was more, but I can't bring it now.
Mm.
There was more that I saw
Mm.
or experienced, but I can't bring it.
It was very
It went
not
away.
verbally
Yeah.
organizable.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happened.
Yeah.
The central tube,
Uh-huh.
where we're like at the very, very center point of that. Source is all around, almost like this. Source, and I showed you that other graphic of source. So source is all around us. We're like in that very, very, very center of it. And as we're in that tube of this toroidal tube of consciousness, Alex Gray really defined it well.
Yeah.
You have eyes everywhere as you center and still inside of that.
It's like I was looking at it.
Oh, okay. So you were kind of like them at one of the observational perspectives, looking at
Oh,
you
yes.
here, centrally. That's what's so unique about this. We're not this. This is the hologram. We're the screen, but we're also the source, observing itself. It's so phenomenal. And as you break through, the habit and pattern and stigma with managing this, and you get more comfortable with it, then, it starts expanding. You start opening up those windows kind of involuntarily. They just, as you're more at peace, more of that expanse, more of these expanse starts happening, and you start seeing the hologram. And the fractures in the hologram. So, excellent.
Just to add
Excellent.
on that, when you say about the fractures, they did take me somewhere and they showed me, like you said, those things start breaking apart or changing or something. It's almost like those next to the tube torus, the areas around it.
Yeah.
They took me somewhere and there were parts of it laying there. And I was worried because I thought, oh my gosh, they're programmed with stuff. Do I have to be concerned about them? They said, don't worry about it. It'll be recycled. But they just wanted to show me that.
Whoa!
Oh my God. I was like in a cave.
Whoa!
Whoa! Metal. I thought, well, that looks kind of like metal. But you could see that it had all the programming in it. But it was in some place. And I was worried about it, that it should be recycled.
Phenomenal!
Anyway,
That's
like
phenomenal!
Ray said, there's probably more that we can't remember, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Very heavy energy.
Yeah,
It's hard to bring this stuff back.
Right, like really.
yeah, yeah. It takes a lot of trust, understanding, and compassion when you're, seeing these things about ourselves.
It's like no time. What happened to the time?
Yeah, time goes
Right,
out.
yeah.
It's, you move into quantum time and it can be short and sometimes it could be longer. Missing time. Yeah. Wow.
Jane?
I didn't really have very much in the way of visuals that I can remember. I just ended up feeling like fields. Just felt very like a kinesthetic feeling of taking myself further and further like out and feeling.
Did you feel
Around.
supported in those expansions of self? Yeah.
Very much so. Very much reached a point of just absolute bliss, but it was like I was traveling through fields.
And while you were traveling through the fields, you were feeling the support, but did you feel the concentration of centralized energy coming from right here, right from the heart? Yeah. That's what's so phenomenal. It's just like those sea urchins, I tell you. They just emanate out in all directions, like those tiny spines, the plank hairs filling the screen. And we get worried, because they're based on the emanation, the radiance of love. So as you're radiating, you're going, well, what if I run out? I remember I used to think that. And consequently, but the understanding, the knowledge and understanding and experience that source is all around you, and it's filling that as you invite it in. It's an endless source of it, and then it's connected. The three are connected. If you understand that connection, then you can keep that flow going. So the self, the little self, the character is supported and healed by the Trinity. It's phenomenal because you don't feel any dissociatives, nothing. You feel all inclusive, unity, one conscious. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Thank you.